Welcome to Timeless Chronicles. Explore history, mysteries, and fascinating stories from old Hollywood scandals that history forgot. Subscribe now for captivating content that takes you beyond time. Timeless Chronicles, history, mysteries. Enjoy this video. Joan Crawford starred in at least one adult film before she became a movie star. Joan Crawford appeared in at least one pornographic film. As the story goes, MGM spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars tracking the movie down and destroying it. Errol Flynn stood trial for statutory rape. In 1943, Errol Flynn, one of the biggest Hollywood stars of the late 1930s and early 40s, best known for roles in swashbuckling pictures like Robin Hood and Captain Blood, stood trial for statutory rape. Jean Harlow's husband took his life under very suspicious circumstances. In 1932, 2 months after they were married, Jean Harlow's husband, producer Paul Byrne, died of an apparent suicide. His body was found naked in their home with a gun in his hand, along with a note. The police assumed this to be a suicide note, but they couldn't make heads or tails of what it actually meant, given Harlow's refusal to talk about it, other than to say she was at her mother's house the night of the suicide. Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich probably had an affair. Greta Garbo and Marlene Dietrich had a lot in common. The actors were only 4 years apart in age, and both came to Hollywood from Europe around the same time. Garbo from Sweden, Dietrich from Germany. However, for most of their careers, Garbo and Dietrich denied ever having met one another. Superman George Reeves passed mysteriously after an affair with Hollywood fixer Eddie Mannix's wife. In 1959, George Reeves, star of The Adventures of Superman, was found dead. Despite his passing being ruled a suicide, rumors of foul play have persisted, especially because the death followed Reeves's affair with Toni Mannix, the wife of infamous Hollywood fixer Eddie Mannix. Jean Harlow, Joan Crawford, and Judy Garland had studio-pressured abortions in old Hollywood. The studios controlled the lives of actors, and they strongly believed a bombshell couldn't get married, or most especially, pregnant. When Jean Harlow became pregnant during an affair with William Powell, the studio arranged for her to enter a hospital under a pseudonym to get some rest. Walt Disney gave Nazi filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl a tour of the Disney lot. Whether or not Walt Disney was an anti-Semite is subject to debate. He was, however, the only studio head to meet with Nazi filmmaker Leni Riefenstahl when she came to Hollywood at the end of 1938, in the wake of Kristallnacht, during which German citizens and the military were unleashed on Jewish institutions by the government and permitted to burn synagogues and destroy Jewish homes and businesses. Country western singer Spade Cooley murdered his wife. Spade Cooley was the self-proclaimed king of Western swing. He had a television show, movie contracts, and hit records. In 1961, Cooley murdered his wife, Ella May, after beating her for hours in front of their daughter. Lana Turner's mafioso lover was slain by her daughter. Lana Turner, a Hollywood star known for femme fatale roles, lived her own version of a sordid film noir tale of intrigue and betrayal. In 1958, her boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, a known mobster with ties to Mickey Cohen, was found stabbed to death in her home. MGM hooked teenage Judy Garland on pills. During her time at MGM, Judy Garland was subjected to near endless abuse, including constant harassment from executives like Louis B. Mayer about losing weight. This resulted in Garland starving herself and getting hooked on diet pills. Hollywood sign girl Peg Entwistle took her life after just one summer in Tinseltown. Actor Peg Entwistle experienced success on Broadway as a teenager and elected to move to Los Angeles at the height of the Great Depression in 1932 to pursue her dream of being. Ingrid Bergman had an affair and a baby with Roberto Rossellini. In the 1940s, Ingrid Bergman was married and maintained a wholesome public image on which much of her fan base was predicated. During production of 1949's Stromboli, she began an affair with, also married, Italian director Roberto Rossellini. She got pregnant, and the two divorced their respective spouses. Their child was born before they married in 1950. Ted Healy, creator of The Three Stooges, was beaten to death outside of a nightclub. Hollywood has forgotten Ted Healy was the creator of The Three Stooges, and history has forgotten he died after sustaining a brutal beating outside a Hollywood club. A vaudevillian, Healy assembled the Stooges as sidekicks for his comedy act. By 1934, he had parted ways with them, and they went on to fame and fortune. 3 pilots died filming Howard Hughes's Hell's Angels. Howard Hughes's aviation epic Hell's Angels was one of the most troubled productions in Hollywood history. It took 3 years to film, cost $4,000, a lot of money back then, and led to the deaths of 3 stunt pilots and 1 mechanic. Charlie Chaplin kept marrying teenagers. Charlie Chaplin was a beloved comedic figure of the silver screen, but his love life was scandalous even in his time. Chaplin was married 4 times throughout his life, first at the age of 29 and the last time at 53. But the age of his brides all stayed relatively the same. His first marriage, again at age 29, was to 16-year-old Mildred Harris, but the couple divorced 2 years later. Then, at 35, he married 16-year-old Lita Gray. The pair even wed in Mexico to avoid California's statutory rape laws. Clark Gable was allegedly a hustler before he became big. Clark Gable was known in his day as the King of Hollywood, a title he'd worked hard to earn. He was also known as something of a ladies' man, a title he'd had to do very little to earn, and he happily went after anyone he shared the screen with.